Good morning, people. Hope you've had a good night's rest. We're into the book of Galatians to help us today to be able to figure out this thing called the law. God gave the law to Moses. We did yesterday on Mount Sinai. What a glorious event that was. What a spectacular, dramatic time that was. As Moses went up to God and God said, Moses, I'll put you out of your misery now. I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like. Not for necessarily my own good, but for you. You need to know so that the law that I'm about to give you can protect you from life, can protect you from the lies of the devil. You need to have something that you can hold on to that will help you and guide you through your life, and certainly as a leader to lead the people to a place of integrity and holiness. And so God gave to Moses the basis of the 10 Commandments. They were expounded upon further, and a few more laws were added to it. The Pharisees, however, really climbed on board here, and they took what should have been a handful of really good, meaningful, heartfelt changes and rituals and stuff, and they turned it into an absolute dog show. They turned it into something that was just legalism personified. They took laws that should never have been like that, and they really split hairs, and they absolutely sweated the small stuff. And so that which was once beautiful became a burden to the people. The Pharisees made a lot of money out of this thing. They had a lot of power over people because the power brought the sort of legalism, brought with it a sense of authority and a structure. And they had this hierarchy of people, and it was just a nightmare. And the poor people of Israel were totally, in bondage to everything that the Pharisees had said that the law had said. It had become corrupted. Now, if you want to know the answer to the law question, in my opinion, it's not about anything other than your perspective. David, on the one hand, loved God's law, never saw it as a burden, loved to fulfill it, saw it for what it was, said, God, you have given us this so that you can protect me. I'm going to hold to your law because I want to please you, and I want you to be able to protect me by me protecting myself by obeying the law. That's on the one hand. You can do the law because you love the law. On the other hand, there's this legalistic attitude. For some reason, legalism has a certain appeal to certain people, and I can understand that because it gives us boundaries, it gives us that, but at the same time, it can become an incredible, incredible burden. God did not give the law to become a burden. God did not give the law so that somebody could beat you up with the law and made you conform and use guilt as a motivator to say, you haven't fulfilled the law appropriately, and all they do is lay more and more guilt, and guilt turns to shame, and you just get into a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. The book of Galatians helps us tremendously in this regard, because Paul was faced at this particular time in the history of the church. Paul was faced with the issue of the Jews and the Gentiles and the legalism and the love of God, and they were in this hodgepodge of creating a theology that was meaningful. Paul was adamant when he said a couple of things on the subject of law. He says this, and I'm just going through the book of Galatians, and I can just pick a few verses and you'll see his opinion of what the law was and should do or should not do. He says this, verse 11 of chapter 3, clearly no one is justified by God by the law, because the righteous shall live by faith. You see, faith in the sacrifice of Christ is what salvation is all about. It's not about how many rules and regulations you can obey, because all that will do is create bondage, because the law has set the bar so high. And you're going to look at the bar and you're going to say, man, I can't jump that high. There's no ways that I can conform and do that. And then on top of that, you've got to do it perfectly if you want to earn the right to get to heaven, and none of us can pull that off. And so Jesus came and said, it's not about the law, it's about love. It's about my love for you and my sacrifice for you, and you are justified by faith through my love. The law is not based on faith. On the contrary, the man who does these things will live by them. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is he who hangs upon the tree. And then go into chapter 4. It says this, verse 4, but when the time had fully come, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under law, to redeem us, redeem those under law, that we might receive the full rights of sons. Now the law would want you to give you the full rights of slaves. Jesus said, that's not good enough. That's not the purpose. I want to give you the full right as sons and daughters of God. The law was given to protect. The law is good, but it's not an end in itself. It's a means to another end. That end did not work, and Jesus saw this, and he came and he redeemed us by becoming the curse of the law. There's one more verse that I'd like you to read. It's verse 7. So you are no longer a slave, but a son. And since you are a son, God has made you also an heir. People, what a gracious God we have. What an incredible God we have. He saw our frailty. He saw our fallibility. He said, you're never going to be able to jump as high as the Lord demands, but I have a plan. I have Jesus, who will shed his blood to fulfill the law on your behalf so that you can become an heir of God. Oh, these are deep truths, people. This is hectic stuff. But isn't it glorious? It's incredible, man. It's amazing grace. That's what it's all about. So won't you ponder that today. Have a fantastic day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.